I did get some powder coating done on some parts. This is the cabin air box here. I cleaned it up. It was rusty, sandblasted it, got it all cleaned up. And these are the parts for the windshield defroster. This is part of the backseat heat kit, and I got those sandblasted and cleaned up the other day. And then I was going to powder coat them, and I decided this box gets pretty hot. Regular powder coating might not have held up on it, so I ordered some special high temp muffler powder coat, and I decided to go ahead and save the rest of these and powder coat all of my cabin heat and heat boxes with that instead of just regular powder coat, so it hold up a little better. Well, I got it a few days ago, and I got those powder coated. I also got these brackets cleaned up and powder coated. These are the mount brackets for the strakes that go on the tail as part of the wingtip vortice kits. There's a aluminum plate that sticks here, a strake, or a little winglet that fits underneath the horizontal stabilizer, and these clamp with just hose clamps onto the fuselage, the longeron right here. These were in really bad shape. They'd been painted red like this. The paint was all flaking off. They're pretty severely pitted, and I took them down a couple weeks ago and sandblasted them, cleaned them up, and then brought them up here to fit them. And it took a little bit of fitting for them because these welds are pretty good sized welds around here on this tower, so I had to kind of relieve around these. Anyway, I took them back down today and sandblasted them again, and I had them sitting on the bench. I've got some corrosion resistant primer that I used on these, and so those other parts were powder coated with muffler black, with a high temp black, and so I couldn't do all these at the same time, so these were sitting there on the bench while I did those other pieces, and they kind of rusted sitting there on the bench. So I put them back in the sandblaster again and sandblasted them again, and then got them double coated. They've got corrosion resistant primer on them, and then I put this bright red on there, which is pretty close to the same color as they were. I've got to put the nut plates on there. I drilled those out, took the old nut plates off. They were kind of serviceable. They had a little bit of rust on them, but I had to get in underneath those nut plates on the back sides of them here to get the rust out of that. Those are ready to go on. I think I'll put maybe a little Teflon tape or something underneath there so that they're not riding directly on this longeron, kind of insulate it from that. I went ahead and finished up these brackets for the strakes, for the tail strakes, for the vortex generators. Got some number 10 nut plates and riveted those on, and then I took some just exo rust and a little paintbrush and painted those and painted the rivet heads. And I went and found some new breeze clamps, or some new clamps here to clamp those down. They're just a worm hose clamp that was on there. The ones that came off of there looked okay, but as rusty as everything else was, I just decided to replace them. Stainless steel can fail kind of catastrophically without showing much external damage to it. I went ahead and put some Teflon tape underneath this as a dielectric, just as kind of a chafing strip under between here. And this is the Teflon tape I've been using. It's a real thin mill tape. It's got sticky on one side. It's not too sticky, but yeah, it sticks to itself and it sticks to stuff. But it's a real thin tape, and it's real slippery. And I got this at Boeing Surplus years ago. I started out with a great big roll of it, and I've gone down to this because I use it a lot on things for anti-chafe and dielectric, and it works really good. And I can't get any more of it. I've looked on eBay and places to try to buy it, and the stuff that I got winds up being completely different than this. Anyway, Boeing Surplus going out of shutting their outlet store didn't help. That used to be a fun place to go. Well, anyway, I put a strip on the inside of these brackets, full length of it, just half, just in this top part of the bracket, and then I marked where these hose clamps went, and I just put a half a piece on the longeron there. These hose clamps are kind of abrasive, and they kind of well, they worm. They get a worm drive on them, but they move as they go through, and they're kind of abrasive, so they can cut into the paint. And so I just put a little piece underneath each one of these hose clamps. And I was worried it might be too slippery, but it's not. It's tightened down real good, clamped down real good. Those are on. Probably the two modifications to one of these Super Cubs that I would recommend the most are these vortex generators on the wings and the windshield defrost kit. All of the things that I've put on the airplane. My airplane's got a lot of stuff on it. I've seen others with a lot more, but of all the stuff you can put on there, those are the two things I recommend the highest for the Cub. Vortex generators, or wing vortex generators, actually work real good, real well. I mean, you still can run into problems. I can keep full control with ailerons, elevators, and rudders, and I don't get a stall break. You get a mush, so you can still, it's not going to stay flying if you get too slow. It's not going to save you that way, but it won't break over, and you have full controls throughout the whole stall regime. And the windshield defroster is the other thing that's a good kit. You might not need it down in the dry South Arizona, places like that, or in the hot summers, but where you have any dampness at all, they make a big difference. Just the air flowing through it from the propeller generating while you're taxiing is enough to help clear the windshield up when it's foggy, a rainy day, and your clothes are damp, and you get in there and close everything all up, and everything fogs up instantly. And windshield defroster works great for that.